So, ladies and gentlemen, thank you for continuing the session so far. So I request participants stay tuned for the session now. We are talking about so global trends in supply chain management, and then the key takeaways. So this is the topic what we are going to discuss now. So we have experts, expert panel joined who talk about manufacturing, supply chain, aviation, and technology and planning. All what we need to do, all what we think of global trends now, what's going on in supply chain, we are going to discuss in the next couple of hours. So we will be having an action-packed discussion on supply chain management trends. Okay, so just first of all, let us try to onboard all the panelists. Kuldeep, if you can help make Alberto a presenter. Okay, so then Venkat as a presenter, and then Rajivji has joined. Thank you, Rajivji. Okay, so make Rajivji a presenter. So is Vasu is joined? Can you check Venkat?
No, I don't think so, but I think then he must be joining. Any moment he will join.
Join at any moment. Okay, so let me Deep, if you can organize the screen in such a way that
it is done. We can start. It is already done.
Okay.
When it is recording, it will be all four participant panelists are already on stage, so we can start.
Okay, so thank you very much. So I would like to do a quick introduction. So the main theme of this talk show is to discuss about global trends in supply chain management. Okay, the key takeaways. Okay, so we have 5 panelists today to discuss. So I'll start with Alberto. So Alberto Manzo, a founder and CEO of Impact Consulting from Qatar, joining from Qatar. Hi, Alberto. So thank you for joining session today. If you're able to hear me.
Hello. Yes, I can. Can you hear me?
Yeah, okay. So let me give a quick intro. Alberto Manzo is a result-driven leader specializing in change management, transformational roles. Okay. And known for his ability to achieve the strategic results, especially in aviation industry and postal logistics, and then many more. So he spent a lot of time in Middle East, Europe, and served very large organizations to achieve excellence. Okay, so we will hear more from Alberto. Okay, so yeah, so let me onboard Alberto, and then I will leave it to you for a quick introduction from your side, Alberto. Okay. So I would like to onboard Engineer Rajiv Ganju, the Senior Vice President for Manufacturing and Global Supply Chain from Luminous Power Technologies India. So thank you, sir, for joining. So I know you are not feeling well, but you have joined. Thank you very much. Okay.
You're
so
welcome.
Rajiv ji is a senior global supply chain and logistics executive, over 30 years of experience in electrical and electronics manufacturing industry. He excels in end-to-end supply chain management, industry 4.0 deployments, business strategy, and also Rajiv ji has led a lot of transformative initiatives for smart factories, logistics, and digitization. So thank you, Rajiv ji, for joining the session today.
Thank you.
Vasu joined.
So Vasu Garu, yeah. So you can onboard Vasu also. So we have. I would like to introduce Venkat. Okay, so thank you, Venkat Garu, for joining the session today. Venkat is a senior vice president at Zelarsoft. He's a visionary cloud architect with over 20+ years of experience in service-oriented architecture, cloud security, ITSM, and whatnot. And he's a very seasoned professional in SAP, and then help all the organizations to achieve excellence in IT and IT-enabled services. And his experience in Middle East and India and whatnot. So we'll try to hear from more from Vasu Garu as we go on. Okay, sorry, Venkat Garu as we go on. I think we have onboarded Vasu Garu, right?
Yeah.
Vasu Garu. Yeah, I would like to introduce Mr. Vasu Maganti. He's the Chief Executive Officer of Zelarsoft. And he's joining the session from United States. So thank you, Vasu Garu, for joining the session today. So Vasu Maganti is the CEO of Zelarsoft, has driven profitability of startups to Fortune 500 companies through optimized technology infrastructure and product development. He has spearheaded cloud native initiatives, quality assurance strategies, and cost optimizations, delivering substantial ROI and scaling global teams, all the while enabling significant market share growth. We would like to hear from all of you. So I will be very happy to hear from you. So I think let us take a few minutes to introduce individually. So we can start with, we can start with Vasu. Yeah, so you can just quickly, because you joined late, so we cannot see you. You are here, okay. Okay, if you are able to. Kuldeep, can you make Vasu Garu presenter?
He's on mute and his video is off, so he needs to unmute himself and talk.
Make presenter. I think we made him presenter. Yeah. Vasu Garu, if you are able to hear us. Yeah. So meanwhile, Vasu get ready. So let us start with Alberto. So Alberto, please introduce yourself just for a few minutes because it's a long session. So let us start with that.
Okay, so thank you so much, Abdul. I really appreciate your calling us and discussing these kinds of topics as people sort of based in different parts of the world with different experiences. Introducing myself as I'm going to keep it quite simple. I had the opportunity and the luck and the honor of working in different organizations, both in Europe and the UK, and now in Qatar for the past 13 years. And my experience is primarily aviation and logistics stroke postal in terms of corporate experience. And then with regards to other types of experiences in consulting, I've supported many organizations, both at government level as well as sort of private sort of level in the US as well as in Europe and Qatar to turn around and become better at what they're meant to do strategically. So delivering, much higher KPIs, turning around financially, and so on. So, it's an honor to be here and getting to know the other speakers and obviously, hopefully taking some questions from the audience. So thank you so much.
So thank you, Alberto. Thank you, very, very nice introduction. Rajiv ji, please feel free to introduce yourself.
So thank you. First of all, is my audio clear?
It's very clear.
So thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. And thank you, co-panelists. I think it's very great. So I'm Rajiv Ganju, engineer by education. I'm also Six Sigma Black Belt, executive coach, and I've done my MBA in INSEAD, France. So I worked in various organizations, started my career with LG Electronics. I worked in various aspects of manufacturing and supply chain. I also worked in Motorola, in telecom, building their factories, working in quality, working in R&D. Then I joined Samsung India, worked in Samsung, and now I am with Luminous. Luminous is a 100% subsidiary of Schneider Electric. So here I take care of manufacturing and global supply chain. So I take care of, as you know, Luminous is an energy storage and energy management business. So we are into solar industry. We manufacture solar solutions, including solar panels, storage systems like battery, whether it is lead acid or lithium ion. We also make on-grid, off-grid, and hybrid inverters to convert DC current into AC current. So anything to do with all renewable energy and helping planet remain green. So that's what we do. I also coach a couple of students. That is what I want to give back to society. And also, I have guest lectures a couple of managements and engineering institutes in India. And I also write for certain publications, so that global concepts are discussed in India about the supply chain. Thank you. Thank you for this opportunity, and thank you all co-panelists.
Thank you, Rajivji. Thank you very much for joining us. Vasu garu, we are running an introduction. So please, can you introduce yourself?
Yes,
I
yes.
did introduction, but you can just introduce.
Okay. Thank you. Thanks, Abdul, for having me on. Yeah, sorry for joining late. I've been with Teams and then here struggling with the video a little bit. Finally, I'm here. Yeah, so pleasure to be on this event and hear from all the other leaders as well. Coming to me, I've been in the technology industry for close to 30 years now. So primarily working on all kinds of industry verticals, starting from manufacturing to retail to everywhere, figuring out how logistics and this technology transformation can help them to drive the profitability, ROI, and everything. So our simple thing we have been focused on is how can this technology help the business, right? What kind of business problem does it solve? So very excited to hear and share some of our experiences here.
Fantastic. So thank you also. Thank you very much. Venkat, please, yeah.
Thank you, Abdul. I hope I'm not on mute. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah,
Uh,
we can go.
so my name is Venkat, and I have around 38 years of experience, spanning across different countries and primarily associated with IT infrastructure as well as with software business applications. In the process, I had the opportunity of working with very large enterprises who had serious challenges in the supply chain management. Entities like largest LNG exporters like Qatar Gas, Gas, fabric type of entities. I know through that I was closely associated with SAP and Oracle solutions. And from 1987 till now, I've seen the various evolutions that happen and the importance of supply chain management somehow I've witnessed in 1995 onwards, including its various complexities for the end-to-end visibility. I have the opportunity of being associated with almost like 21 supply chain management implementations on enterprise scale. Apart from that, yes, I have exposure to various domains of software engineering, including right from coding to delivery. That's how I would like to put it across. And currently, I'm associated with Zelarsoft, and I'm working alongside of Vasu. And through my association, I have the opportunity of learning something on the analytics side, then the IoT, AIML, that has a sort of a strategic importance and guidance to the supply chain management evolution from now on. A sort of a new paradigm that might be coming to a near future in next 2-3 years. And here we are along with Vasu to share our observations with all the panelists. Thank you, panel.
So thank you, Venkat. So I think we set a tone now for the very insightful discussion now. So let us start the discussion. So I think let us start with the manufacturing first. Okay, so with the current technology revolution, generative AI or artificial intelligence, and of course the technology within manufacturing itself. So there is a tremendous opportunity for the organizations to grow. Okay, so I would like to ask panel members, what are the top manufacturing trends going on now, which affect almost all the companies across the globe and make the companies very competitive, and then those who don't catch up, they have a big problem in survival. So Rajiv ji, I think you are experts in manufacturing, so I leave it to you. Give us the quick insights and what are the manufacturing trends from either from technology side and from functional side. So over to you, Rajiv ji.
So thanks, Abdul. Like as you see globally, so a lot of things are done on supply chain, and I think India is quite ahead in all of them now. So after COVID, what has happened? Like a lot of focus has come to the supply chain. Supply chain and manufacturing, which was only discussed in shop floor, has now come to the top floor, and there is no board meeting where discussion on manufacturing and supply chain is not happening. So that is some good effect after COVID, which has happened. So are the opportunities. As you know, Industry 5.0 is already being discussed, and it is talked on three pillars. We talk about sustainability in manufacturing now. We also talk about resilience. We talk a lot about resilience and manpower back to the factories. 4.0 was complete digitization. Now it is collaborative approach between manpower and the automation, which is being discussed. Now, coming up, how does it make sense practically is that earlier the focus, as we see now, collaborative robotics is being discussed a lot. So because somewhere where manpower rates were competitive and automation was not making sense, so there this concept is coming into the light that we focus on collaborative robotics. Then when you talk about lines, predictive maintenance is being discussed a lot. So rather than preventive maintenance. So predictive maintenance, lot of focus is there and lot of things are there in by machine learning by which to the accuracy of 95%, you can you can predict failures in the machines and the machine will start speaking to you. So recently, we saw a mix of hardware and sensor, which can monitor the vibration and sound of the machine, and with 95% accuracy, it can tell you what can be the downtime of the machine. Similarly, coming to quality, like the quality which used to be on papers, control chart, everything, lot of AI and generative AI. So I has come into picture that which can predict that what could be the field failure rates, what could be the process robustness, how process capability of process will be good, how it can be improved, and what can be the reliability outside. So in any temperature, in any kind of electricity condition or usage condition, you can predict failures with that. Similarly, to improve upon the productivity efficiency inside the shop floor, lot of video analytics has come. Due to video analytics, you can see M2M, what we call as man to motion study. So how it is improving the efficiency of the plants. Now coming to processes, lot of robotic process automation is being focused on. Take a simple example of inspecting some product in incoming quality control. Now, earlier, there used to be an inspector. He used to check, note down the parameters, then say whether the lot was okay or lot was NG. Today, with robotic process automation, everything is automized. So you just incoming lot will come. Video analytics or certain major systems will measure whether it is okay. Decision will be automatically taken and it will be allocated a place in the store. So, and automatically payment to the vendor will be done. So these kind of automation are happening within the campus. Now, going outside the manufacturing campus, and because supply chain starts with customer and a lot of demand sensing. We used to do forecasting. We used to do SIOP meetings. So we had accuracy issues. Accuracy used to vary between 60 to 80%. Today, demand sensing has started increasing it. It will take some time as the data will stabilize. I'm sure it will go to around between 85 to 90 and 95% will be accuracy there. Now, there are lot many demand sensing tools which have taken into consideration how the changing demands can be sensed and then how the pre-intimation to the manufacturing guys can be given for organizing that kind of material. Similarly, then a lot of improvement has happened in TOC, what we call as theory of constraints. Theory of constraints gives you the exact movement of goods because everybody talks about freshness. Gone are the days where you would store an inventory and keep it there. Everybody wants everything fresh. So we have in India a system known as Blinkit. Even if you have to get one egg in the morning and you don't find it in the refrigerator, you put it in you just have to put it in the app. And the moment you put press button that, okay, I want this, the payment is done within 2 minutes or 5 minutes maximum, it will come to your doorstep. Even with one small egg, it can come. So that is the kind of freshness, that's the kind of speed customer is expecting. So theory of constraints help us in that to identify where the required material should be stored so that it is given to the customer fresh and square. So I think a lot of evolution has happened there. And finally, coming to the logistics centers, we know a lot of work is done on digital twins to make it very efficient. A lot of work is done on transportation systems to monitor to the accuracy of 98% how the material travels. Multimodal logistics is happening to bring down the costs. As we know, that logistics costs of India are higher than the global trends. So a lot of innovation is happening there. So then, so even the drone technology has started what we call as cyber physical systems to use them for warehouse accuracy, to use them for looking at safety, security of the warehouses. So these are some of the trends what we see, and a lot of them we have deployed in our factories.
Fantastic, fantastic, Rajivji. I think you summed up in a very nice way. We'll just break it down so that our participant will be very easy to consume for them. Now we talk about manufacturing. You talk about the whole supply chain. Let us talk about the aviation. Okay, so let us hear from Alberto. So, how is the aviation industry and aviation logistics going on? And give us a quick insights. Then we talk about other part of like a technology things and also supply chain systems. So we'll talk more. Okay, so over to you, Alberto. Just give us the insights on the aviation and
I think
industry.
I think it's a really good link, Abdul, between manufacturing, what Rajiv is talking about, and how do we make whatever is being produced and manufactured available across the world. And that is really, for me, that's where aviation comes in and supports logistics movements across the world. But let's just like go down a bit more into this. And so there is clearly a link between air cargo connectivity and increased trade value. Okay, so back in 2015 already, from memory, IATA already came up with some numbers, and it said that 1% rise, only 1% rise in air cargo connectivity correlates to about 6.5% of increase in the total exports and imports. So there is a disproportionate amount of value that aviation provides to trade to the point that 1% point would actually equate to 6+% in terms of the total exports and imports. Already in 2015, pre-COVID, airlines transported something in the range of about 52+ million metric tons of goods. That was worth about $6 trillion USD. This is 2015. Now, bear in mind that in 2020, we were hit by COVID. We'll talk about that in a moment. Those numbers have nearly doubled since 2015 to today, because we've basically gone about 10 years almost since then. Air cargo accounted for 35% of the global trade by value. Okay, so just by value, 35% of that trade was air cargo moved, despite covering less than only 1% in volume. So you're dealing with only less than 1% in terms of volume being carried, but that less than 1% equated to 35% of global trade in terms of value. So air cargo is crucial for this global value chain, where the rapid transport of components and supporting the just-in-time manufacturing that Rajiv was talking about, but not at a local level with the example of the egg that he was talking about, but actually globally across the world. So this is really kind of like where I see the value of aviation. Now, over the years, air transport has established itself as a crucial link between manufacturers and consumers, right? Now, think about the e-commerce, B2C organizations like Shein, the likes of Alibaba, the likes of Temu, and think about, you know, all the customers around the world, the consumers, how they can get hold of these products. Within anything between 7 to 10 days, you can receive your items at home through the current sort of very well developed sort of logistics and supply chain. And especially during the COVID-19 pandemic, when it expedited the shipments that would have otherwise been delayed, air cargo played a major role, especially for aviation as well, because as you know, aviation was at its knees during COVID. You know, all aircraft, passenger aircraft were grounded pretty much. Nobody was actually able to move or travel. So what helped some of the major airlines, and the last one I worked with here in Qatar, Qatar Airways, was actually the cargo business unit was maintaining and sustaining the entire business from actually going into the red. So, you know, this is really, really critical. Now, if I move on to talking about essential medical supplies, imagine, you know, all the PPEs that were produced in certain areas such as China and so on, and being distributed across the world, you know, masks, you know, and gloves and all sorts of things. Very, very critical that air transport was able to support and oil the wheels of the whole ecosystem to keep going during such a pandemic. Now, we don't know if in another 7 years' time we're going to be getting hit by another one of any other type. And we've certainly sort of mastered some of these critical ways to operate, right, during these sorts of very difficult sort of periods. So for me, just to conclude maybe, and then we move on to other topics later about aviation. So just think about within 24 hours, only one day, air cargo providers around the world utilized more than 100,000 aeroplanes in one day, transported over 20 million parcels, and shipped up to $20 billion worth of cargo. So this is kind of like to put things into perspective in terms of that. And for me, it's all about facilitating economic growth. So it's an enabler, air cargo, that facilitates economic growth, expansion, performance, efficiencies, and almost like a spin-off or a benefit such as a catalytic benefit that provides you know, byproducts, by benefits to other industries. So I'll hand over the mic to you. I don't want to keep it too long, but clearly a very passionate sort of supporter of aviation, specifically in this particular context, not passenger, but cargo and freight movements. We'll come on to other challenges in a minute, but over to you.
So come back, because this is aviation logistics is something a special domain. So very rarely we find people like you. Okay, I'm bringing one more for the marine. Okay, so he will join us in 10 minutes. For a few minutes, he will share his insights. So meanwhile, let's talk about the most trending thing, the technology, the generative AI. We call it as IoT. We call it's a blockchain. And two gentlemen here, Vasu and Venkat, so they are experts in technology in a global scale. So Vasu, please share your insights. How this artificial intelligence, okay, and of course, in combining IoT and other technologies. So what do you think? How is the trend in supply chain going on, and how the companies become competitive advantage? And then what they should do, okay, to react. So how to implement those things will come in a second round, but let us hear from you. Yeah.
Sure. So let me share a few of the things what we are noticing here in the United States, right, in terms of technology adoption. So we have just heard very good from Rajiv about how manufacturing is evolving, predictive maintenance to all other things, right? In terms of generative AI, one of the things which is rapidly happening here is generative design, right? So the previous way of designing, right, where it is to take a lot of time with engineers sitting together and then design with CAD/CAM and then do multiple iterations and figure out all of that. So this is evolving to be one of the game changers. So the important thing there is all that you need to do is set up, enter these parameters, what kind of weight, composition, what parameters would you need. And using the AI ML now, with the generative AI, it can come up with the design models. And unbelievably, it can go through millions of iterations to figure out which one is the best one. So where I'm seeing applications this, leading automotive manufacturers, there are excellent cases here where they were able to come up with parts which are like 40% lesser in weight, but about 20% stronger. So this is kind of creating a revolution, and we see more of this getting adopted as we move forward. Even so adoption is happening by companies like Boeing also in this, right? In terms of generative design, where the impact is how do you reduce your cost and how do you reduce the weight and then eventually impacting on the fuel consumption. This is coming up like a bigger adoption. As I think as we move forward, this is going to impact many other industry verticals as well. Yeah, aviation, also logistics, coming to the, so technology is always there, but it was just, how we measure and track. Now with the advent of all this IoT based things, we get tons of data now in terms of IoT data coming from the real-time data which is coming. So what was lacking from previous days to now is the compute power. Right? With the billions and billions of data points coming, so previously the compute power was not there and it was not cost effective enough to churn the data. But as the compute power has become more and more affordable now, we're able to generate great insights that can help the business, right? In terms of logistics, even in terms of determining the capacity planning and the demand, and then you can even actually tie it back to what exactly the stores are required, right? You can get the inventory and plan. So it is just-in-time concept is always there, but now with the advent of this technology, it is becoming more and more efficient, I would say. Those are what our observations are.
Fantastic. I hear the generative design. It's very interesting. We'll come back to that. So Venkat Garu, so would you like to share some insights on this? And I know you have very clear insights on some of the topics. Please share your insights.
Yes, my insights are more or less based on the experience that we as a company Zelarsoft have implemented various solutions across the globe in terms of big data and predictive analytics, IoT, AI, and ML. In fact, we were fortunate to be associated with a lot of supply chain management and logistics companies. One thing that I noticed is basically the big data and predictive analytics is revolutionizing supply chain management. Basically, this is transforming the organizations on forecasting the demand as well as optimizing the operations. It is through analyzing vast amounts of historical data. Uh, what we noticed is businesses can identify patterns and trends. That is enabling them to predict future demand and more accurately. That is now becoming a feasible approach. And this is translating to our clients in terms of having a better inventory management and contributing to the overall operational efficiency.
Sorry, yes,
So,
working, yeah.
yeah.
Thank you.
So, any problem?
No, somebody is speaking. So Deep, please, can you check the mic?
Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
please.
after big data and predictive analytics, we are actively involved with the IoT AML solutions division, where what I noticed, it's a sort of a reflection of our experience, what Zelarsoft is delivering in terms of IoT AML, where these are not merely trends. That's what I started feeling. They're going to represent a sort of a transformative shift in how this supply chain management will operate, uh, where basically a sort of enabling greater efficiency, accuracy, and resilience. So if you take, for example, the IoT is basically playing a crucial role in enhancing real-time asset monitoring. Uh, if you buy simply just as an example, employing sensors and connected devices. Through this, companies, they are able to achieve continuous visibility across their supply chains. For example, I just take it as an example. I do not like to name our client because I don't have permission on that. A logistic firm basically if they use IoT enabled. They're using IoT enabled tracking devices to monitor the location and the condition of shipment in transit. That is one thing. This real-time data is allowing their business to quickly identify and address the potential issues such as delays or temperature fluctuation sensitive goods. As, you know, through this, they are having a sort of a proactive nature of IoT, not only to improve operational efficiency, but also enhancing their customer satisfaction uh, by providing a sort of a timely update and ensuring product integrity. That is one thing. And in terms of artificial intelligence, it is revolutionizing. One of the largest trucking company or the sort of Uber type of an entity in US. It is helping them in their decision-making process with supply chain. Basically, it is automating a lot of various functions. And the most important aspect, AI is facilitating or minimizing the human error and speeding up the operations. So that is one thing that I noticed. Like, for example, AI algorithms, they can analyze sales data, market trends to predict inventory trends. Therefore, a sort of optimizing the stock levels and reducing the holding cost. That is the most important factor for any enterprise, that being considered. So it can further, AI also, it can streamline this procurement process also through evaluation of supplier performance and recommending the best options based on the historical data and current market trends. So that is what it is on AI. And in terms of ML, basically ML is complementing all these advancements by to enhancing logistic optimization and inventory management through analysis of historical data. And like ML algorithms, basically they can identify most efficient logistic routes. Trust me, this was a great surprise to one of our clients, the trucking aggregator, I can say. That is one thing. Taking into account, account factors such like traffic patterns, weather conditions, delivery windows, sort of thing. And this optimization not only reduced the transportation cost also, but it ensured minimization of delays, means timely deliveries, therefore resulting in some sort of a stronger relationship with customers. So in inventory management, ML algorithms are now able to predict, and we have delivered such solutions, demand fluctuations, and it
We
is
will come
allowing
to
enterprises to adjust the stock levels and also dynamically and risk of overstocking or stock out situations, the most important aspect. This is what my submission to begin with.
Venkat, we come back in another round, the second round. We discuss more details. Now
Yes.
we completed so manufacturing. We completed aviation. I just I just pulled Captain Vivek Sood, okay, just to give an introduction of marine logistics. Okay, so without marine logistics, it is not complete. So Captain Vivek Sood, thank you for joining from Australia. I just pulled him, okay, because I don't, we have a limited exposure to marine logistics. Okay, so Captain Vivek, if you can hear us, so can you give us
Yes,
a
I
quick,
can hear you.
just to give us a quick insights, what are the global trends in marine logistics now? Okay, sorry to disturb you in the evening, late evening in Australia. Yeah.
No problem. I can answer this question. Global trends. So we are really dealing with the fallout of what happened in COVID times. Basically, all the supply chains fell apart in COVID. We are still trying to put them back together. We haven't been able to do that so far. So the reason that it fell apart was because there was congestion in ports like Los Angeles and many other ports. Nobody was geared for this kind of disaster. People didn't know how to manage things like COVID, and they're still learning how to manage these kind of backlogs. On shore, people were not ready for the backlogs in America, and that's what happened in many other countries too. And that has created big disaster in supply chains. Unfortunately, those disasters have not been put together. Think about supply chains which have been twisted and turned all over, and we are still trying to untangle those things now. So
Okay.
I'll just give you a short gesture of what I think it is happening here.
Yeah. So, so thank you, Captain Vivek. I think you have visited more than 100 countries, and then he's a pioneer in supply chain management from Australia. We'll talk more. Okay. So thank you, Vivek ji. So now, since we have a very high level.
I started working in the company that invented supply chain management in 1997.
Yeah.
So
Okay.
I worked with the guy who invented supply chain management. He coined the term. In 1979, he coined the term. So I wrote one of the first books in the world in supply chain management, and that's still very popular book. I gave the whole story in that book.
Yeah, yeah. So we talk about it, Captain Vivek, very soon. Okay, so now we have finished the high level discussion. So let us take to the executable things, actionable insights. Okay, so let us talk about, again, we'll start with the manufacturing. So in manufacturing, sir, Rajiv ji, so let us take about, yeah, there are very nice concepts. And then when you talk about in a realistic, in a field, so the company still have a basic ERP in place, and they don't have manufacturing execution systems or warehouse management systems or fleet management systems or some kind of planning systems. So they have a basic accounting ERP in place. Okay, now from here, and then how they will go to the process and excellence, and then to catch up with the latest technologies and whatever you have very nicely briefed. So what is your advice for the manufacturing organizations and of course in supply chain organizations in India and
You have to find
elsewhere?
better systems, then you build your own system.
Vivek ji said, I'll come back to you, sir. Okay. So Rajiv ji, so over to you.
Thank you, Abdul. I think it's a great question. Like we hear about these technologies now, how to have this journey. So first, my recommendation is like it's not a journey which is a 1 year journey or 2 year journey. Making smart factories takes time. So for smart factory or industry 4.0 compliant factory or the most productive factories, the first thing is people. So you can have the greatest automation, you can have the greatest processes, greatest softwares. But if people are not aligned and they don't use them, it will be a big waste. So the journey has to start with people and people have to start. So I'll tell you, like when we started this journey, what we did is we formed a small innovation team where people from production, maintenance, quality got together and we told them, can we just first make a simple robotic arm, which is pick and place? So we send them for example, we send them to one university and we told them, you go there and let's do it as a project. So we gained two insights out of it. One is they made this robotic arm. They were so passionate about it. They had all the spares with them. They were pre-aligned with it, and they were 100% sure, and they spread it across the shop floor that they may use other automation or not, but they have to use this robotic arm. So this kind of passion, so I think we call it as low-cost automation. With small low-cost automation, where they see lot of repetitive processes there, and where which people are doing can be much better effective and it's not very expensive. And normally in this low cost automation, return on investment is between 6 to 8 months. So they have to start with this. So with this, what will happen? The mindset of the organization will change and they will move towards what we call as uh, industry 4.0 or industry 5.0, or in our language we call them as smart factories. So once we spread this culture, so one is the teams get together, this spreads this message, so people will start becoming smart. After people becoming smart, we have to focus on smart infrastructure. Yes, it needs capex, so we have to take our decision that where we have to have this smart capex, so that smart infrastructure is made. So after smart people will spend on smart infrastructure so that people will start seeing like at least the factories look like hospital clean and garden green. So this is a term we have coined that they have to look like hospital clean and garden green factories. So it doesn't cost money, it costs only the mindset. So we have to focus on that. So once the smart and we have this smart infrastructure, we'll focus on smart machines. So ultimately, it is the same 4M what we say that we have to only make it smart. So we have to have connected machines, start collecting small data, try to improve that process, have lean digital system, have small end-on system, so that we can know about how much shortage is happening, how much breakdown is happening, how much defect is happening. And once we have this data, we'll definitely improve some part of it. Minimum science says that if we don't do much, we can improve it by 20%. So once you start realizing the result and harvesting those results, you will be keen in deploying more and more. And that is how this journey will start. And once this journey starts, there is no end to it. Start with low cost automation, start with like smart people, smart infra, smart machine, and smart process. This is how we should go about it. And once we do it slowly, you can do about it. Last, I would advise all that if you see any manufacturing company, whether it is small, medium, or big, so you see a lot of these video cameras, and we sleep at night and thinking that these cameras are taking care of the factory, and we put two, three security guards and monitor that camera. But trust me, like it doesn't have how can it's a repetitive job? How can one security guy for 8 hours look at camera and detect faults? So you should use video analytics. Use them so you can do a lot of robotics out of these cameras, which is the most idle asset in the. You already have it. Just attach some program to it. Any camera can be attached with this video analytic program. You can take care of your safety. You can take care of your proper measurement of scrap. You can do even dispatches through with 100% accuracy through this video analytics. Small example. For example, look at horribly we have been discussing some screws are loose, some screws are tight, some screws are missing. Use interlock intelligent screwdriver. It is not very expensive. One is it ensures correct torque. It ensures that all screws, at least they are fixed where they were supposed to be fixed. And the second rip process will not start till the first interlock is complete. That is why it is intelligent. And you have all data. You can take it to your server or take it to your cloud, wherever you want to store it. So anytime you want to do any analytics out of a small screwdriver, whether it is electric, whether it is pneumatic, in your shop floor, you can make it. So you have started with the smart screwdriver in the first beginning, and you can boast of that today we have at least the fasteners which we do, they are smart. So like this, you can start smart, go to then you can analyze through simple end-on systems your shortage breakdown defect to improve yield, to improve productivity, or you RTY, what we called as road throughput yield, can also be measured through this. So ultimately, slowly, and once you have all this in place, a good manufacturing control tower will be there, giving you a completely making a smart factory.
So fantastic, sir. So I think I really liked make smart people first. That is something very, very interesting. So once you have the smart people, I think everything will be smart. Okay. So then, yeah. So that is a nice way, actually. So you empower people first and then make them smart to think smarter. And I think it is applicable not only in manufacturing. I think it is applicable everywhere. So once you train people, empower people, then the rest of the technology and other things, it will be a journey. So fantastic. So I think you gave a very, very high, nice glimpse of how manufacturing companies practically do it. So from the people to the infrastructure to the factories, and then how to use the video cameras, smart partner. Okay, I think you touched the key points. Let's talk about more on manufacturing. Just a quick. Uh, Now we do have like when you talk about the systems in place. So manufacturing execution system, we have automation, robotics. Okay, so there are multiple things which can optimize manufacturing process from technology side. Okay, so what are the top 2 or 3 technologies organizations should adopt and just in this journey? Not everything can be adopted at the same time, but just they need to phase it out.
When we talk about technologies, so ultimately first, if you talk about hard technologies, so as we told that robotics is there, collaborative robotics is there, intelligent cameras are there, intelligent screwdrivers are there. So ultimately, it is ultimately whether the product is made good or bad is what affects our life. So that can be made. That's the first thing which should be made safe. So you can put, I'm talking about the hardware, like ultimately, what does that man do? He sees good or bad. So all this can be done by a simple process. You can make that decision making autonomous because it's a repetitive decision. It can be made autonomous. So we can do some robotic process automation by which they will be qualified OK or NG. Similarly, when we see non-value added activity inside the shop floor, so lot of AMRs, autonomous mobile robotic system. Material handling is the most where it's very difficult to measure the productivity. You cannot measure productivity of a material handler, bringing raw material from store, kitting it, giving it to line, then FG taking it to warehouse, going it to truck. So I think AMR are very helpful today. You can do AMRs, you can make them. A lot of these AMRs can help in material movement and they are very productive, cost effective. Similarly, when we see movement of goods, so a lot of highway conveyors can be used. So instead of trolleys roaming around the factory, I think we can conveyorize it. It is becoming very productive, very cheap, and these conveyorized systems will directly take it to the wherever they are supposed to go, including trucks. Directly, products can go, so you can use these highway conveyors to improve. So I think most of the people where measurement is not possible, these non-value added activities either can be robotized, conveyorized, or especially in material handling, you can use even if you don't want to use AMR at the first beginning, but a water spider is fine enough. So you can start with water spider, and then you can go up to autonomous mobile robotic systems. So this is on the hardware part. Now coming to software part, so lean digital systems, there are so many which can which can automatically compute the quality of the shop floor, whether it is process audit, whether it is incoming part audit, whether it is FG audit, whether it is what we call as reliability audits. So all these aging audits, all this can be done through those lean digital systems. Plus, best part in that is they will talk about predictive quality again. They will not tell you whether it is okay or NG, but they will tell you when it is going to become NG. That is more important because they work on the science of process capability and process capability index. And to control it, they work on various control charts, whether it is mean range charts or whether it is P chart, whether it is N chart. So they work on process. Ultimately, they work on fundamentals of Six Sigma. And once ultimately all this generative AI, ML, what we are learning today, it is fundamentally based on the fundamentals of Six Sigma only. So
Fantastic.
that is about the quality. So then coming about the most important thing is how many people first are in the shop floor. It is always it is always a big thing. Like tomorrow you have safety drills or anything. So you have lot of face cheap face recognition systems. So at any moment when they enter the factory, you will come to know how many people are on the shop floor. Lot of struggle is in the manufacturing industry. At any given moment of time, you don't know how many people are there inside the shop floor. You don't know how movements are there. So you can use those face recognition systems to check how many people are inside the system. And on systems, I'm a strong believer that unless you know how much, only three things happen in shop floor. Either it's a material shortage, or it's a breakdown in the machine, or there is some defect happening. So any end-on system, it can be connected to the phone, and you will come to know about how much actual we have wasted the time and how we can recover it. And finally, as I told you, predictive maintenance softwares can be deployed and sensors can be deployed, by which we'll know one, how much preventive maintenance is happening and how much that preventive maintenance is effective. Is it really reducing the MTBF and MTTR, that is mean time between failures or mean time to repair? So whether any improvement is happening in that or not. So ultimately, everything in manufacturing depends on defining the problem properly, measuring it, analyzing it, improving it. So we may be good up to improving it and then finally controlling it. This principle is known as DMAT principle. If we do it properly, we can become very smart in manufacturing.
Yeah, thank you, sir. A little extension for that is raw material. So one of the, as you said, there are three things. One, raw material shortage. I just worked with one Mitsubishi client last week. So one of the key challenge for them is the material shortage. So they have so many parts coming up from so many suppliers. So certifying them and then bringing them to the shop floor properly on time is something which is very important. Even if the one part is missing, then the whole the lead time of manufacturing gets increased. So for that, what Mitsubishi guys are doing is they're trying to automate their warehouse operations by doing some kind of warehouse management system and connecting to their suppliers all the way backwards, and then trying to have the visibility of the material flow right from the supplier to the warehousing and then to the shop floor. So that's something which is very important. Of course, in the downstream supply chain after manufacturing also, we can always see how the material flow happens uninterrupted. So fantastic, sir. And we'll talk about more about the challenges in the context. Okay, that is in the next round. So now let us talk about aviation. I think that's a big industry. So you worked in aviation industry for so long, and you work with so many larger organizations. You can just tell about them if you would like to brief. Okay, so how are the things? What are the trends now? Actionable trends now, you think, Alberto?
Yeah, thank you. I think look, I've worked in cargo as well as in passenger, and there's if I could just focus quickly on the cargo freight rather than passengers, as it is the topic of our conversation specifically. What I notice is that IATA is a very important sort of beacon in aviation, and all airlines need to aspire to essentially hit those particular sort of requirements and compliance. Now, one element that came to my mind is this Air Trade Facilitation Index, right, which ATFI, and it is widely recognized that the integration into this global value chains is facilitated by the ability to move goods across the borders quickly, reliably, and cost effectively, right? So the speed and reliability are particularly crucial for air cargo. We've addressed it earlier when we were talking about manufacturing and so on. So the ATFI, this Air Trade Facilitation Index, was developed to measure the key aspects of the trade facilitation that are important for air cargo, right? For example, performance metrics, the presence of supportive legislative frameworks. I mean, the law is very important as well. And this can vary from country to country, right? But for where we are now in the Middle East, it's a different animal from where I was in Europe or in the US. So within the context of this sort of Air Trade Facilitation Index, there are some top performance, interestingly, performance like Austria, Slovenia, Korea, Italy, Sweden, Holland. These are some of the most powerful ones that facilitate the trade. But there is another index which is about e-freight friendliness, right? And this is about the digitization, which I want to touch on in a minute, the digitization of the industry. So the e-freight friendliness index is also a very important factor in the quality of air cargo services. And this is all about the ability to conduct transactions electronically. So electronic processing can save an awful lot of time. We talked about lean a second ago. We talked about Kaizen or continuous improvement. But implementing transactions electronically can really save an awful lot of time, reduce costs, administrative kind of burdens and complexities, and enhance the service offerings altogether, right? So, this is all about the measures that extend of electronic transactions used in air cargo shipments and logistics. It also considers whether customs is very important. Customs are also interlinked within the electronic ecosystem, so that they can accept electronic processing, which is a key to speeding up and not blocking the freight at customs points. And in the E element, so in the digitization element, interestingly, the top performance that we talked about earlier in terms of facilitation of trade are different. In the e-commerce, for example, the digitization space, interestingly, I noticed that UAE are at the top of the list. So United Arab Emirates, Denmark, Hong Kong, Singapore, Sweden come up, and the United States and even Holland are 8th and 10th place. United States at the 10th place, and the Netherlands at 8th place. So, and this is kind of like what I noticed in Qatar as well. We're very good here in terms of electronic and digitization, but there's quite a bit of way to go when it comes down to sort of the whole ecosystem and making it flow without any, too much of interruptions. So the key practical, as you called it earlier, practicality-wise, the key practical air cargo specific implementation interventions that are needed, in my opinion, are the facilitation of electronic processing, for example, through the airway bill and e-freight, the implementation of what we call the single window processing, ultimately enabling the submission of all regulatory documents for trade via one channel. So every other sort of stakeholder is linked to this one single window, coordinated border agency procedures that would enable the elimination of duplicates, so duplication of work, implementation of risk management controls at the border to combat illicit activities and facilitate compliant traders and get rid of the ones that are non-compliant. So a lot of those are actually damaging the industry. Okay, and finally, the deployment of processes that approve the release of shipments in advance of their actual arrival. So imagine what we could do is we can actually intercept shipments ahead of their landing at the destination airport, and we could actually do the clearance of those goods before they even land. So the whole concept, Abdul, of digitization is a very, very important aspect. And Hong Kong, specifically Hong Kong and Cathay Pacific, Cathay Cargo, are really at the forefront of the industry. So Hong Kong International Airport has long been the world's busiest air cargo. Interesting, right? So think about Atlanta, Georgia, as we have a colleague here in the States, is the busiest in terms of passenger movements, but Hong Kong is the busiest from a freight movement. Of course, its proximity to China helps a lot. And regaining its top position after a brief dip in 2020 because of the pandemic. This quick recovery that the airport witnessed is driven by the surge in e-commerce. I mentioned earlier the amount of the volumes that we're moving, particularly out of China, thanks to Shein and thanks to the Temu and so on. A significant portion of the global online orders are passing through Hong Kong as the main hub, because China doesn't really have, even Beijing is not a particularly strong hub for them. So Hong Kong becomes that very developed hub, handling over. Even in 2023, they were handling already 4.5 million tons of cargo only Hong Kong. The airport is equipped with some of the world's most developed sort of facilities in cargo space. Look into the future, you can think that this place in Hong Kong, key stakeholders at the airport are planning further expansion, and a new UPS hub is slated to handle around 1 million tons annually, and expected to become operational in 2028. So strategically, these organizations are looking forward to the next 4 or 5 years to equip themselves to be on top of the e-commerce wave, complementing UPS, complementing a DHL hub of similar capacity, which already opened back in 2023. So DHL's partnerships as well with Cathay Pacific, Cathay Cargo, through Cathay's subsidiary Air Hong Kong, supports the overnight express services of 14 Asian destinations. So this is really kind of where we are. So we're talking about e-commerce, digitization. We are talking about collaboration with other, rather than competition with DHL, actually collaboration with DHL, with UPS. And the airport in Hong Kong is investing heavily in maintaining the quality of the temperature-sensitive goods. So, for example, the moving, temperature-controlled fruit, veg, medicines, skincare, and so on. This is absolutely critical to ensuring the integrity of the products when they arrive at the other end, but also the opportunity for organizations and firms in those countries to be able to trade. As I mentioned earlier, the facilitation of trade through air cargo is very much a strong enabler of economic growth. So, these types of considerations are really, really critical, Abdul, when it comes down to, facilitating worldwide economic growth and e-commerce. And in terms of the where I also, the other element I come from is postal. As the traditional postal traffic starts to dwindle, or has already begun to dwindle many years ago, the upcoming e-commerce and parcels and packet movements are really, the future generation in terms of keeping even the postal companies afloat. Okay, so an awful lot of what we did in Qatar Post was where I also served for 6 years, was also about diversification of the industry into non-postal products, and particularly powerful is the money and the revenue coming from e-commerce across the globe. And of course, whereas Royal Mail has in the UK, where I also worked, has its own aircraft, and UPS has got its own aircraft. Qatar Post doesn't, a small organization don't, but also some of the Italian and European postal administrations have got their own planes. We need to rely on aviation to be able to move parcels across the world. So these are the types of things, Abdul, that spring to mind when it comes to practicalities. And what Rajiv said earlier, in terms of the people aspect, people, don't forget that nothing is fully automated. We still need individuals to be able to operate whatever industry we're in. At the end of the day, there are customers at the other end, and customers are people. So very, very important what he said when it comes to the cultural development, the cultural aspect of a business, which also is very powerful in aviation and very important in aviation, both on the passenger side, but also on the freight side. Last but not least is the security, the aviation security, AVSEC, how important that is. If you think about some of the unfortunate events that happen in the security aspect from the 9/11, but working backwards to even the late 80s with Lockerbie and baggage and cargo containing, unfortunately, devices that made the carrier explode and so on. So it's very important that we look at the security aspect of air cargo movement. So this is a very practical as well element of it. So I'll just hand you over the mic for now, but these are the types of practicalities that spring to mind.
It's a very nice explanation. I think it's a very insightful, Alberto. Thank you very much. Before touching the technology part, Vasu and Venkat, I'll just try to give you a different point of view. Now, we all know that supply chain management is very crucial. Now, it's one thing is popping up. The latest trend in supply chain management is, or it's a practices is, so multi-enterprise supply chain business networks. So now, with the evolution of that technology, now everything is getting connected. Now it's about the competition is not about the company to company; it's about supply chain to supply chain. Okay, so now a multi-enterprise supply chain business networks is evolving, and it's for a specific industries. It's already in place, like in aviation, it is in Europe, and some kind of a pharma they have it there, and it's in the fashion it is there. But what it would do basically is it connects all the members of supply chain. Okay, when you talk about the food and beverage industry, so right from the farmers to the storage guys, to the raw material suppliers, to the manufacturers, which are like value-added services manufacturers, and then the processing, manufacturing of the processing, and then the distribution centers, the retailers, and the end consumers. So now all these people can come to a platform which is called a multi-enterprise supply chain business network, and each one can interact with anybody, and then they can make a direct procurement, and then all the supply chain execution systems work in the as a platform to support all of them. So, for example, a manufacturer directly he can procure from raw material trader, or he can directly procure from a farmer, okay, and he can pay directly in the system. Okay, so now the platform what we are talking about, multi-enterprise business network, will take care of the whole operations. Even the warehouse guy can do his processes in the same platform. So this is a trend now we are witnessing, and we are working on that, especially for the food and the beverages industry. In this, I'll just give an example. When you talk about warehousing, third-party warehousing companies, okay, so who are their customers? They are more worried about their customers. So now the customers set very high standards. Somebody like Rajivji, you put a very high standards to your raw material suppliers. Then they eventually go for 3PLs. So, okay, so to meet that, and of course, the cost is very challenging for them. Now, to maintain and run that 3PL warehouses, they need so many support services, like quality certification, the security, they have automation, they have so many things, logistics enablers, the packaging, the value-added services. So there are so many, at least 20, 30 services required to run a warehouse successfully. Now, what I witness is, you forget about the whole multi-enterprise supply chain. Just take about the 3PL warehousing and their customers and their suppliers. If you take this part itself, it's a big enough, okay, to connect all parties, the warehousing enablers, okay, so warehousing customers, and then warehousing suppliers. So this itself a big network. So if you connect them, so majority of the supply chain inefficiencies will go. And on top of it, if you connect them, and then if you connect to the supply chain finance for this as a bottom layer, even the financial transactions can happen through that, and also even their the credit part. Okay, so even the banks can step in, and then even they can finance for the accounts payables and receivables across the supply chain. So this is the one trend which is taking up by industry. I think in India, we are from Data Labs India, we are trying for food and beverages industry, and eventually it will come up, whether we do it or not. In next 3 to 5 years, the things will come as a multi-enterprise business networks. One of the most important part in multi-enterprise business networks, and of course, whatever you have just said in aviation and manufacturing, is the integration of disparate systems. Now, when you talk about integration of disparate systems, connecting multiple systems together. Now, I leave it to Vasu. So how you connect all the disparate systems using whatever technology, it could be whatever RPA or whatever AI. So how do you think that, given scale of the requirement, so what are the key insights an organization should follow in step by step? And many people still think this is an expenditure, not as an investment. So what is your advice for those companies? And what are the key technologies, insights they should take up? So over to you, Vasu.
Sure, Abdul. So on integration right now, pretty much all technologies today, every platform, they open up an API, right? So it should be, back in the day, it was pretty tough to do the integrations. We had to build custom integrations, but now with API-based thing, integration should be relatively easy. Majority of this newer technologies, newer platforms, all of them enable API-based integration. But in that concept, right, one of the biggest challenge, which at least we are seeing, is about data security and trust. When multiple organizations come together, data security becomes a challenge, right? We talk about 3PL, right? So now more and more organizations, because of the government compliance requirements, they are also required to prove the compliance by third party. Right? So the data security, how are they storing the data? You need to have all those things also squared up. That is one big challenge. And the second issue I see there, all will have to see. The way to think about it is identifying a problem is half the solution. Right? First, we identify what the problems are, then eventually it can be solved. Then comes to the point of what you're talking about, right? The analytics part, where again, getting the data from disparate sources, again, building that visibility also and the analytics and give the prediction about what can be expected from this is also an important concept to do. So coming to the point of the company seeing it as an expense, that is slowly changing, I would say, because of a lot of awareness being created in the markets, right? It's primarily from the boards and the executives, right? Now they are also bombarded with all this technology and everything. When they go out, attend the conference, they learn from the peers how they're doing. So slowly what we are seeing is that they're now ready to make those investment into that area. Like Rajiv was mentioning a little while ago, right? It's always people, process, and technology, and you have to start small, right? You start small and then see some results, and then eventually you will start embracing it more and more. But it's a no-brainer. It's absolutely a no-brainer. And one of the things which service providers like us do, right, like what we do at Zelar, is we never approach this as a technology problem at all. Right, we start viewing it from the business side of it. Right, so tell them how this is going to impact their business, right, and what is the ROI. It is hard to make an ROI assessment, but put some numbers there and showcase, hey, you are investing $100,000, but guess what? It's going to give you an eventual ROI of millions of dollars, right? That kind of messaging is absolutely required for the founders because, funds are very expensive now, right? With the global investment, the interest rate scenarios, it's very expensive. Every entrepreneur, every executive has to be very prudent about where they're putting in money. It boils down to companies like ours who would justify why this should be done with a clear ROI. And what we end up doing most of the times, the way to overcome this is we take a pilot. We take a pilot and we build the model and everything and showcase on that simple pilot what is the impact it's having on the business. And once they see the impact, the adoption is pretty quick. That's what I would say.
Perfect, sir. Yeah. So I would like to see the different perspective on the technology. So now we talk about artificial intelligence, blockchain. There are many things. Okay, so we talk about everybody is now talking about artificial intelligence. Everybody, you name it. Okay, whether it is really artificial intelligence or not, forget about it. Now everybody is talking about AI. Whether it is real AI or not, that is something different. Okay, so what about the blockchain applications for supply chain and in manufacturing, or it could be anywhere? So, Venkat Garu, can you throw a light on application of blockchain? Because we want to be some specific. Okay, so based on your understanding, so how can these blockchain technologies can help for the supply chain, especially in the global trade management or any other applications? Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I look at it. Blockchain is basically certainly it is revolutionizing supply chain transparency and security. By way of providing some sort of decentralized and immutable ledgers. And blockchain also it allows organizations to track their products from their origin to the end customer. That is something that I've noticed. And this capability is basically essential for product provenance and as it basically enables companies to verify the authenticity of goods and ensure compliance with the regulatory requirements. Also, blockchain it can facilitate use of smart contracts that can automate the agreements between parties. That is one thing that we all know. and reducing the need for intermediaries and minimizing the transaction times. So I just take a small example. Walmart basically it employs blockchain technology to trace food products. They are, allowing them for rapid responses, especially in case of recalls and complying with the food safety. That is one thing. Uh, Fine. That is something about the blockchain, but the integration of AI, IoT, and blockchain into supply chain operations can enhance the visibility. It can automate the decision-making process, and it can improve the overall efficiency also. So by adopting this combination of technologies, organizations can not only streamline their process but also position themselves for a sort of success and increase competition wise. It is increasing day by day. That's what I noticed.
It's fantastic. So now we have like a 30 minutes remaining. So in this, what we'll talk about two things. One is any specific industry, uh, any specific industry trends within this gambit of all the technology, general, whatever we talk about, any specific industry insights. That is one thing which anybody can share. I don't have to sequence it. The second thing is the key takeaways. Okay. So what are the key takeaways, top three key takeaways for the participants from manufacturing, aviation, and supply chain and technology wise? Okay, so we can start randomly. We don't have to follow a
That's
sequence.
not a
Yeah.
small. Can you take a minute? As a technocrat, what I noticed is, especially from supply chain management, watching its advancement since 1995 to adopting higher technology, latest technologies. The way I look at it, as a matter of fact, this is a sort of a consensus that goes on within our company also among myself, the CTO, and the data division head also, that there are a couple of things. Before we embrace any technology, it is basically, we always recommend to our clients to look at a sort of a data-driven decision making, and especially we request them to evaluate the diversified sourcing technologies, diversified sourcing strategies. That is something to the key of supply chain management. I think it is, of course, I'm not a core SCM guy. And lastly, adopting the technological innovations. Today, you are seeing blockchain, AI, IoT, ML, but tomorrow something else could be there. But the bottom line is basically, in fact, there are two things that I learned by watching supply chain management since '95. One, it teaches the operational efficiency, and the second factor, competitiveness. Even which other domains, the technology industry, others can learn from this by studying. So this is what my small submission to all of you.
So thank you, Venkatji. Thank you very much. So let us talk about two things, as I told. So anybody can share in this. So give us like one or two industries where any specific industries where the supply chain trends you are witnessing from your experience, and also then what we talk about the second round is key takeaways for the companies. So we can start. Please feel free, Rajiv ji. Please feel free. Yeah. No, you are in mute. Huh? You are in mute.
Thank you. So I think it's good, like if we share the practical industries. So I think FMCG, durables, a lot of examples. If you see LGs of the world and Samsung of the world, you will see all deployment of these processes, including Luminous. Most of the things we have done it here, and it has helped them. One is being very competitive, like giving the value to the customer and making products where the customer feels yes, it's value for money to them. So, and they have made it the processes are so efficient, like they have become all world leaders in their product categories. So coming to the takeaway, so automobiles is also a very good industry. For example, if you see BMW or Benz, it's a complete robotic plant. You will hardly see any manpower. So warehouse, even if you see Amazon warehouse, it has everything deployed right from cyber physical system. Anything we discussed today, you can see practical implementation of that in an Amazon warehouse. So you can check it there. So similarly, coming to, as I said, demand sensing part of it, you can see in various FMCG industries, these practices, because FMCG, if their demand is here or there, everything has a shelf life. So you can imagine, and pharma industry, like we discussed today, for them, demand sensing is very, very important. And they have done lot of automation in those kind of things. So these are the industries where the best practices can be seen while they are practically implemented. Three takeaways is like, first, always in a supply chain, if it is shorter, if it is simple, and if it is smart, it is beautiful. So we have to make this chain short, we have to make it simple, and we have to make it smart. When I say smart, doesn't mean, it means that everything should be visible. We should be in control of things at least. We should know what is happening where in various elements of this supply chain. So if it is visible, we can solve. If we know a problem, we can solve it. If we don't know a problem, we'll never solve it. So that is the first thing, is like we should directly capture the demand. So we should use smart tools, whether they are simple, like start with demand planning at least, if not sensing. We can start with good, very effective SIOP meetings, at least to capture those demands till we automate that process. Coming to manufacturing, we have packaging, the movement of things, start with automating that and start using, like we heard Venkat, we heard that so many like soft tools have come which can be deployed so that we can see efficiencies coming. We heard Vasu talking about it. So we can use those tools and we can see ROI is coming, we can see efficiency is happening. So that is how manufacturing. And finally, how to make it easily, speedily, and freshly available to customers. So we should look at making that process short, making it transparent. And we discussed today, like it is a very good concept, and we have been debating in our company that how we can do this multi-enterprise business solutions, especially with warehouses, because lot of seasonal and non-seasonal goods are there, which means that you have taken a productive place, and when it is not your season, you're just wasting that productive space. So it's a excellent, and it will happen there because lot of seasonal and non-seasonal products can be combined together to improve the space productivity there for 3PL warehouses. So I think ultimately these are the three principles: make it short, make it simple, and so I think these are the take.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you very much.
I think.
Alberto.
Yeah, Abdul, thank you. So before I come to the takeaways, I'll cover about 4 or 5 points in my view for the takeaways. I'm actually thinking about one point of reflection, which we certainly haven't covered, but it's come to my mind, and is the last mile delivery, Abdul, right? So we've talked an awful lot about what other colleagues and the panelists are talking in terms of, facilitating lean and the cultural aspect. We talked about automation, machine learning, AI potentially, but at the end of the day, once the goods arrive or the freight arrives at its destination, those parcels, right, those e-commerce parcels, or those eggs that we were talking about earlier, they need to reach the consumer. So the last mile is something that deserves a couple of words, right? And maybe we certainly don't have the time to look at this as a one topic, but certainly could be treated as one topic, because once the freight has arrived in Doha, in my case, in Qatar, it needs to be custom cleared, and then it needs to go to the customer warehouse. At that point, it needs to be distributed. So just to give you an idea, just Shein, if you know, right, the Chinese Shein manufacture sort of clothing and apparel and so on, in Qatar alone, we distribute something in the range of about 2,000 to 2,500 parcels a day, right? Temu has now reached about 10,000 parcels a day. So how do we put in place the last part of the supply chain, which essentially goes to touch the consumer in terms of the overall lead time from the day when he or she ordered the tablecloth to the point and date and time when she receives it? See what I mean? So we can do all sorts of things. My point here is that we are just as good as the weakest, or as the strongest link, or we are just as poor as the weakest link. We can be great, all of us 9, but if the 10th cog in the mechanism is not smart enough, to use a previous word, then we are not going to make that overall A to Z supply chain process effective and efficient for the benefit of the consumer. Okay, so just wanted to sort of like share a point of reflection, because at the end of the day, there is still a consumer that has ordered a pair of trainers, and she needs to receive them within a reasonable amount of days in order to be satisfied. Anyway, otherwise all of us fail. That's my point. I'll give you the mic to discuss that if you wish. But finally, in terms of takeaways for aviation, look. Improved air cargo connectivity correlates with a substantial increase in trade value, driving economic development and competitiveness. That's one element that it really is very important. Air cargo, in terms of economic impact, air cargo, though less than 1%, I mentioned at the beginning, by volume, but still it accounts for 35% of the global trade by value, highlighting the importance, especially in the global value chains, of this particular mode of transportation. Obviously, the other colleague talked about marine and sea, ocean shipping and so on. Air cargo has a completely different dimension, and it is about simplicity. It is about reachability, speed of moving of those goods. Digitization, number 3 for me. Qatar, I talked about Qatar Pacific Cargo commitment to digitization. It includes, they have reached 100%, Abdul, of EAWB, so airway bills, and 100% API integration. Another colleague talked about integration. I think you did as well, actually. Integration with other supply chain stakeholders' systems. This is key to enhancing the efficiency, the cost savings, and the competitiveness. Technological advancements, investment in AI and electronic processing. This aims to streamline customs and compliance, boosting the overall speed and reliability in air cargo operations. This is really important. Global leaders, countries such as global leaders leading the trade facilitation and electronic processing, like the UAE and Denmark. These guys have set the benchmarks for air cargo efficiency and effectiveness. And lastly, and I'll give you the mic as I promise, future infrastructure. So Hong Kong, I told you earlier, International Airport, is allowing UPS to set up a facility that will go live in 2028, and DHL, of course, has got one already in 2023. So these kinds of takeaways, for me, underscore the important role of air cargo in facilitating global trade and driving economic growth through digital and infrastructural advancements. Over to you.
So thank you very much, Alberto. Very nice. So I'll just try to give some insights based on my experience having visited hundreds of manufacturing, supply chain, and warehousing organizations over a period of 3 to 4 years now. As we are providing solutions for warehousing, manufacturing, and fleet as part of supply chain suite. So what I notice is, especially the mid-size and smaller manufacturing and supply chain companies, so they are a little skeptical about the technology. They are willing to invest, but they are skeptical. Now here, uh, they are unable to decide between the most popular technologies, most popular software companies, or whatever, and then what is required for them. Okay, so they are unable. So they go by the recommendation, the most popular softwares like SAP or whatever. And then at the other hand, they have the major challenges of selecting the best of the best softwares, which are not meeting their requirement. So my advice for them is select the right solution for you. You don't run behind the most popular, because today's most popular solution may be not so popular tomorrow. So select the right solution for you. Select the right partner. Okay, so it's not that you select the right software, but if you don't choose the right partner to help you, then you are going nowhere. So you will actually you will end up in a bigger problem than not having the solution. So select the right partner who can grow with you. Be generous with them. So don't penny pinch everything so that it will come back to you. So you will have your quality delivery problems kind of thing. And then think about the total solution. Don't think about the bits and pieces. I give you an example. I talked to one company, I don't remember the name. So I don't know, maybe they had a bad experience with IT companies kind of thing. So what the managing director told me is, so they don't want to give all the solutions to one company. So what they have done is, they have given the CRM. They took one CRM, they took one purchasing solution, they have a manual inventory solution, and they have another accounting solution. So they have 4 systems. So I told them, guys, why don't you do all in one? And then why don't you find the right partner to do it all in one? So it will help you from investment point of view and also from services. They said, no, these IT people will create a problem for us. And then if we depend only on one company, we will have a problem. So it is like a mindset. So it's a big mindset problem. Now the organizations are going forward on a collaborative mode. It's like a win-win. So if you don't build right partnerships, either it could be a technology, or it could be a raw material supply, or it could be anything, services supply or whatever. If you don't build up the right partner ecosystem, you are going to have a big problem going forward. So you have to build the right partner ecosystem to be successful in manufacturing and supply chain domain. So that is something which is very important. The secondly, if you stay behind, so there is a chance that you will never catch up. So there must be some kind of contingency. They need to invest on research and development in technology wise. So you cannot say let other guy try everything, and then once it is successful, I'll take it. So by the time everything is successful, they might have done as 2 rounds of learning. Okay, and then you still starting, and then maybe it could be very expensive for you to start, or you don't have the right people to start your journey. So you have a bigger problems. So what you do is, you need to have a right budgets, right allocation of the resources, bring the core team, and then invest on them and the research and development. It could be a technology, or it could be anything. So put up the investment. So even if it is losing, no problem. So at least you gain experience and you learn. So consider IT expenditure as an investment, not as an expense. It's not really an expense. You need to consider this an investment. So if the more you think about expenditure, it will be a big problem. So many people told me, so you are implementing a warehouse management system. You are implementing us for manufacturing execution. So what is ROA? Okay, so one of the very big, very good company. So he asked me, sir, warehouse, we have a big problem in raw material supplies. Because of raw material supplies, we have a manufacturing lead time problems. Okay. Now we want to implement a warehouse management system. So can you give me ROI? I told them, so ROI is a secondary. Now you need to have a service level. So you need to make sure that your manufacturing runs smooth. So there is, what is ROI for that? Your manufacturing loss is ROI. Okay, so how can we estimate that? So you know this. Okay, so think about enabler. So technology is enabler. You cannot have ROI calculation for everything. It's not possible. Even if you do that calculation, it could be something based on some unused assumptions. Okay, so invest on things. So, and the third thing is the people. Okay, it's always start and ends with the people. If you have a good people, young people who are trained, invest on the people, try to retain them as much as possible. So if you have a pipeline of building people process for the technology perspective, so you will not have a problem. So the technology adoption will be faster, and then it is a continuous thing. So these are the three things I would like to say. And then finally, before we talk about, tell about something about sustainability at the final thoughts at the end of the session. Each one of you can share the sustainability like ESG final thoughts. So now over to you, Vasuji. So now you talk about the key takeaways and your insights.
Uh, yeah, Abdul. So great points. I think your observations are spot on, right? We see this day in, day out. So one of the things I would say, right, like the way they're looking at this as an investment versus an expense. So there, I think they have to be more open to have a discussion to really, right? We all have a role to play there. See, some of the times what happens is, like the old saying, right? If you're living with a pain for long, then you stop even realizing that it's painful, right? So the old habits die hard, right? If you are used to do a certain things, you do not even understand how much of productivity loss you're having because of that, right? So the way we have seen to overcome this is um, approach this problem from top down, from the executive level, right? Talk to them about the business first and explain them, hey, this is what your peers are doing. And to your point, it's absolutely fantastic. If you do not innovate today, if you do not adapt to technology, your life is very short, right? So it is like, look at what happened to BlackBerry, right? So you all probably remember back in the day, the smartphone, right? I distinctly remember when Obama became president in 2008. In the first interview in the media, he was flaunting his BlackBerry. Hey, you know, I use BlackBerry. I message on it. I can type so fast, everything, right? So what can a brand get? Kind of advertisement more than president of the United States, right? That was the brand 2008. They were raving. It took just 1 year for them to get to the bankruptcy because they were not innovating, right? Apple came and they released the iPhone, and then boom, it's done, right? Within no time, it's done. Of course, Kodak and other things, they took a while to go away from their markets because they were not innovating. But if they do not innovate, you will get wiped out. The entire business is lost. So this is something which they need to be aware of. Entrepreneurs, you know, if you put feet in their shoe and think about it, right? They have million problems every day to deal with, right? Technology, and this is one part of it. So we need to work like a true partners with them and make them understand, hey, you know, think of like I am also kind of a non-paid board member thinking about your problem, trying to solve or trying to help how your business can be built. So that is what in terms of technology and choosing the vendors also, absolutely you're right on that. See, end of the day, tool is a tool, right? So whether you drive a Ferrari or you drive a Maruti depends on the driver, how you drive it, right? It doesn't matter, tool doesn't matter. Tool may have inherent capabilities, but how the driver is it. So people end of the day matter, how they work and how they look at, do they understand the big picture they implement. That's what I would say. For takeaways for me, I'm thinking it from point of view of a business person, right, who is running a warehouse or running a company and everything. There is so much of noise outside, which is hard for somebody to even understand and comprehend. What should I be doing, right? Where should, okay, understood, I have to adopt to technology, but which technology, where, how, that these are the bigger questions which make them keep postponing the decision. So if you look at our discussion today, right, for a key takeaway, simply if you want to put it in simple blocks to understand where this technology is going, I see it like three different buckets, right? So there are technologies which fall under visibility and transparency mode. That's one bucket. What are those technologies talking about? Be it IoT, tracking devices, and all those things, right? Where it gives you visibility and transparency of what is happening. Rajiv talked about cameras, the face recognition things, all of this, right? These are all basically technologies falling under your visibility and transparency kind of operations, right? And the second piece of second bucket of technology, if you want to put it under, is we talked about is automation, right? We're talking about robots or robotic arms or how we are using this or whatever automation techniques we are using. Those are all technologies falling under process automation and automation. That's the second bucket. Third one, which mostly Venkat and you were talking about, Abdul, come under, technologies which help you make data-driven decisions, which is primarily analytics and ML. That's the third bucket, right? So when a company starts looking at this in these three buckets, now problems look smaller. I don't have to worry about, let me think about what investments do I want to make in which bucket and which one is the priority to me. Maybe my industry does not allow me to, or automation is a big deal for me to invest right now. I may not be able to afford robotics or anything. Now let me look at visibility place. Can I make some investment there? Or can I make investments in the data-driven side of it, right? So if you put them in buckets like this, it will be easier for them to think and adopt and allocate budgets also. Which one is priority and everything? Because we are hearing so many things, right? In terms of technology, it's often very confusing. What do I do? Where do I go? Right? The same problem, right? We face as individuals on a day-to-day basis. One day I see somebody says coffee is good. Second day I see, oh, coffee causes cancer. Then they say, oh, eat protein. Then they say, no, carbs are good. No, everything, every day there is confusing, right? I stopped hearing to it anymore now. I said, okay, it is what it is. I'm good, whatever it is, right? So that is the inertia which steps in. Those are my key takeaways, I think, for them to do. They have to certainly invest. It is not at all an expense. If they do not invest, the entire business is at risk. Choosing the right people, right technology is absolute must. Before I hand off, Alberto, thanks for bringing it up. The key essential part in all this is the last mile delivery. Without this, right, it's all meaningless. Right?
It's true. That's
so important. Thanks for bringing that up. That makes this discussion like a 360-degree discussion, right?
That is true.
Absolutely.
Really,
because see, in a
true.
soccer game, you dribble, you show all the skills and take ball to the goalpost and you hit it outside. Nobody remembers it. It's all waste. All your skills are waste, right? Similarly here, if you do not do all the things you implement in data-driven decisions, you do optimization and you do automation, you do visibility, everything, but you fail on delivery and end user consumer is not happy, then whole thing is gone for a toss, right? So the interesting things, what at least we are observing here, I would talk about two things, right? One is in terms of delivery itself, what is happening. The last mile delivery, as you would have all heard, slowly it's being now, it's in the POC stage. The drone-based delivery is coming up, right? And the second important revolution which is happening is crowdsourced delivery. like you are seeing in the food industry, it's happening, right? India also, you see Swiggy's and some other companies also doing. Here, it's a big revolution, like DoorDash and other things which are doing. And Amazon has launched a service like that called Amazon Flex, where people can pick up and then deliver on their from them, right? The other part, which is very important, I don't know if it is there in India or not. There is also a new method which has come up called locker delivery, right? So people go to the big stores everywhere. There are lockers put up there. So they don't have to deliver. Whenever you go to the store and they give you the locker number, you go and pick up your product there from the locker. Right? That is also being very effective in the United States. Amazon has put up lockers in literally every large retail outlet you go, they have lockers there. You can order there and take it. That is on the delivery part itself. And in the improvements also, we are seeing a lot of improvements being made in last mile delivery, like the optimization of the routes. So particularly in the United States, there is a clear way of predicting the traffic and everything, what times are actually the best times for delivery. Where you're not stuck in a rush hour and you take a lot of time, instead of delivering 10 addresses, now you're able to deliver only 2, right? So the delivery optimization, the route optimization is also a big deal, which is happening on the last mile delivery. Yeah, those are my points, but thanks for bringing it up. Such an important point.
It is very important because at the end of the day, you cannot satisfy the consumer if you mess up on that bit. But also, you know, when we talk about local supply chain, Abdul, we talked a lot about international supply chain, right? But when you talk about supply chain locally, for example, a consumer that just goes onto their app and orders his grocery, her grocery, and gets it delivered within an hour. Okay, this is some of the stuff that I've implemented personally here in Qatar. I mean, 1 hour from the point of in time when you've actually ordered your grocery and you receive it at the ding dong on your door, it's quite something if you consider that we are not in South Korea, we're not in Japan, we in my case, in Qatar. So, you know, how do you put together an A to Z supply chain that enables the consumer to receive their goods within an hour? I mean, that sounds like, you know, something simple, but if you think about all the stakeholders that are involved from the point of view that the consumer gets what she's ordered within an hour, it's something that, you know, you'd be quite surprised. And back to the point made here by Vasu, when it comes down to route optimization, when it comes down to integration of API between stakeholder systems, all of these elements are really key to ensuring that supply chain locally is done efficiently. Last but not least, if you think about here in Qatar or in the Middle East, we've got temperatures up to 50 degrees in the summer. So the government, during the World Cup, started to say, right, okay, no motorbikes between the times of 9 a.m. to 3 p.m. So some of these bylaws, some of these regulations are also impacting negatively, although they protect the employee, right, the rider. So all of these elements are all to be taken into account when you factor them all in ensuring that the supply chain guarantees what it says on the tin and improves it, you know, day after day, week after week. So, you know, this particular point is really, I'm pleased that we're discussing it at the very end. Abdul, I'm going to give you a couple of points on sustainability. I think that's what, because I've covered for you the key takeaways. But on sustainability, I just want to give you a couple of points on aviation. Carbon emissions reduction. Aviation is working towards reducing its carbon footprint through more fuel-efficient aircraft, as you know, sustainable aviation fuel, and carbon offsetting programs. Okay, so it's a lot of effort has been done by aviation to reduce the carbon footprint. Now, sustainable aviation fuels, or SAF, is seen as a critical solution with the potential to reduce life cycle carbon emissions by up to 80% compared to traditional jet fuels. And innovative technologies, the industry is investing an awful lot in electric and hybrid aircraft, aiming to reduce dependence on fossil fuels. We'll see that probably in the next 15 to 20 years, in my opinion. Operational efficiency, airlines are optimizing flight routes, improving the air traffic management, and implementing more efficient ground operations to lower the fuel consumption and the emissions. And also regulatory and industry initiatives like, for example, the global organizations such as ICAO or ICAO have set ambitious targets such as the carbon offsetting and reduction schemes for international aviation to achieve carbon neutral growth. Noise reduction and as well, modern aircraft designs aim to lower that noise reduction and pollution, benefiting the communities near the airports. For example, you know, in Europe, we have a curfew between the hours of 10 a.m. and 10 p.m. and 6 a.m. Whereas in other parts of the world, I'm sure that also in India you don't, but here in the Middle East, we don't have that either. So, you know, it's important to create aircraft that are less noise polluting. And stakeholder collaboration, finally, collaboration across aviation ecosystem, including government, airlines, manufacturers, passengers. It's really essential to advancing sustainability goals. If you just think about all of the lobbying that happens in Europe with regards to the new airports being built, existing airports being expanded, all of these kind of stakeholders put together, whilst they might sound as if they are intruding, but working together to reduce carbon footprint and guaranteeing a sustainability journey for the next sort of 50 plus years is very, very important. I'll hand over the mic to you. Thank you, Abdul, and the rest of the team. Thanks a lot.
Fantastic. So I think we are done with the time, but final thoughts. Yes, you can conclude, Rajiv ji and Venkat ji. So you can conclude the final thoughts, and then we will just conclude the session.
Yeah, so I think a couple of points on sustainability in India here also, like everybody is talking about sustainable and green plants, and everybody ultimately has an aim to become carbon neutral. So a lot of renewable energy is used, so rather than conventional sources. So whether it is solar, whether it is wind, whether it is hydrogen, but solar is very popular, so that it's a clean energy that is being used. Also, the focus is on green materials, like whether it is green plastic, green packaging, and already the compliances are everywhere, so that we are quite sustainability is there, and we have EPR, that is we as EPR users, whoever are the manufacturers, how do they recycle, reverse logistics? Like if we are giving material to customer, that how can we bring it back and focus on recyclability, so that 360 reverse logistics does take place. So these are a couple of points, and a lot of focus is for every organization, so that we can target to become carbon neutral.
So thank you, sir. Thank you, Venkat ji. So concluding remarks. Yeah.
Yes. The way I look at it from a supply chain management, basically, if I call it as a future-proofing supply chains, one is basically the way I look at it, developing the digital skills. That is one thing that organizations, they need to focus on. And another factor is basically some sort of strategies for workforce training should be in place. Because of paucity of time, I'm just limiting to pointers only. And sort of fostering collaboration and building strategic partnerships. This will help the way I look at it. And if we happen to have some sort of a minute or two, if you look at it, to leverage all these advanced technologies, be it AI, IoT, by the way, Musk is one of the best examples in managing their refrigerated containers. And blockchain, if you look at it, Walmart, they averted a major food safety related problem in one of the cases, which otherwise would have taken weeks and months to detect, that was prevented in just minutes through blockchain technology. And for to really exploit all these things, they must, enterprises or businesses, they need to prioritize workforce training, a sort of a continuous learning, and a sort of another thing is strategic partnership. So from the perspective of developing digital skills, not only to use the new tools, but also have a deep understanding how these technologies can be integrated into the existing processes. That is the most important aspect, the way I look at it from a technology perspective. And also, they should invest in training programs to, that can cover technical skills such as data analytics, programming, and system management, soft skills, and sort of problems solving and adaptability. And the way I look at it, another thing from training strategy perspective, formal education and hands-on experience should be provided. So that way, that is an important factor. And organizations and businesses, they have to have that thought process of continuous improvement in their approach. That is an important factor that they should consider. And most important, after seeing a lot of large enterprises, what I realized is the organizations, they need to cultivate the habit of, a workforce that needs to be agile, and they should be prepared to adopt the changing market demands, because it is changing pretty rapidly. That is another thing, the way I look at it. And sort of fostering collaborations basically with the suppliers, between suppliers, logistic providers, and technology vendors. A sort of a knowledge sharing and innovations should be in place through collaborative platforms, as you rightly indicated. That should be there. Fine, it goes along with the best practices, etc., for a better thing, a better outcome. And from building the strategic partnerships also, the way I look at it, it is crucial to future-proof this supply chain between external partners and, adopting or implementing advanced solutions. That is something that everyone should seriously consider. This is what I like to conclude, and thank you all.
Venkat, I thank you all. I would like to say, I always, whenever I talk to any company, small or large, what I tell about supply chain is about three things. Improve your visibility in whatever you do, either it could be a process, material flow, or cash flows, or whatever. Then increase the speed, do necessary automations, and increase the speed of your processes. And then finally, you need to establish collaborations, whether it could be internal partners or external partners. So visibility, speed, and collaboration is something which every supply chain organization should think of, and the rest will follow. So with this, I take this as an opportunity to thank one and all. So I start from Rajiv ji. So you are sick today. So thank you for joining and having patiently sitting for so long. Okay, I really appreciate your insights in manufacturing. Well, this is something which is really impressive. And thank you, Vasu Garu, for joining all the way. I think it's early morning, right, for you. So thank you for joining. And I know your insights are invaluable. So thank you for joining us in the morning and giving us very nice insights from practitioner point of view. Alberto, as usual, the super insights for aviation and postal logistics. I always enjoy talking to you. Okay, Venkat Garu, you're humble and you bring a lot of experience. I know that you know more than what you talk. Okay, so with 30 plus years of experience, so it is always encouraging to talk to you. Okay, so thank you, sir. With this, I conclude this talk show. Any questions? because of the time constraints, any questions raised by the participants, because there is a YouTube channel. So we gave it to all the people to attend. So we'll just post it to you and then seek your advice. So thank you very much. And I conclude that session of the global supply chain trends talk show, key takeaways. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you.
Thank
Bye-bye.
So thank you, Abdul. Thank you, Alberto.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Rajiv. Bye.
Bye.
Bye. Thank you.